Alright guys, in this video we're going to be covering a very interesting and potentially exciting rumor that many of you have been asking me to talk about and give my thoughts on. Now this rumor is stemming from a relatively unknown website that claims to have talked to an inside source that is letting them know everything we're currently experiencing with the abandoned real-time app, as well as Blue Box Game Studios, and the theories that claim it is a new Silent Hill game and a new Metal Gear Solid title, and that Sony is heavily involved. Apparently, it's all 100% true. So obviously, this is something that caught my attention as well as the attention of many of you. And so we're going to take some time here to go over this information, go over what this website is saying, try to discern for ourselves whether or not it seems like there could be any truth to this, and I'll, as I said, give my own thoughts on it. So before we get into it, guys, do me a big favor, hit the like button to help this video out and show it your support. And if you do like content like this, it's important you do hit that like button. It really does help. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. But going over here to the website, the name of the website is Pop Topic. So I am not familiar with this website at all, and so off the bat I'm very skeptical. We do obviously have to take this with a grain of salt because, I mean, you know, we have no idea who their source is, who they're talking to, and whether or not any of this is even real. But nonetheless, it is still very interesting, and we are getting closer and closer to the August 10th date where something, we don't know what, but something is supposed to happen with the abandoned real-time experience app. So the title of the article reads, Sony said to announce Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill game very soon. According to a source close to Sony, new Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill video games will be announced very soon, and Hideo Kojima is involved. So definitely some exciting stuff here if there is actually truth to this. It goes on to say fans of Hideo Kojima should expect to be quite happy with Sony's future announcements, according to an industry insider who spoke to Pop Topic. According to a source, the abandoned real-time experience teaser trailer is all that fans want it to be, plus a whole lot more. Not one of the major players in the gaming industry, including Sony, Konami, and Kojima, has issued an official statement refuting the theory that the mysterious new playable teaser with the working title Abandoned is in fact a new Silent Hill game. Now, I do want to say really quickly that this is something we have mentioned. I do think that this is important to highlight and mention when we have these conversations because there has been so many weird things that have happened that by this point in time, you would have to assume that one of these major players, whether it be Sony or Konami or even Hideo Kojima himself, would have to come out here and refute this and shut it down and stop it from growing, because it has done just that. It's just been growing and getting bigger and more strange. And so, yeah, I do think that that is something we always have to mention when we talk about this. And it's funny because the more people I see talk about it, I don't see many people bringing this up. I certainly do see some people, but a lot of people who are making like YouTube videos and covering this occasionally, they don't seem to mention that fact, at least not that often, and I feel as though that is something we have to pay attention to. It continues here by saying the holder of the intellectual property rights, Konami, even fueled the fire by liking a comment that claimed that Abandoned was a brand new Silent Hill game on their official merchandise Instagram account. Konami, again the IP holder, added even more fuel to the fire by liking a comment on their official Instagram merchandise account that claimed the Abandoned real-time experience was an ARG, augmented reality game, for a completely new Silent Hill game. Now, for those who haven't been keeping up or who are not familiar, an ARG or augmented reality game is essentially, it's just that. It's a game that's devised, or in a lot of cases, sometimes a marketing ruse that's devised to kind of just alter your reality, where they're putting stuff in front of your face and it just makes you question, like, is this real? Could this be true? Or are you just kind of losing your mind a little bit? And that's basically the purpose of it. It's meant to really mess with you, get inside your head, and just kind of make you question everything around you. Not only does that sound exactly like something Kojima would do, because he's done it many times before, but everything we're seeing with this so far does point in that direction, because there's just so many coincidences where it's like, yeah, I guess they could all just be coincidences, but at what point is it like, okay, now there's too many, right? So apparently that's exactly what this is. It goes on to say the little-known developer behind the seemingly out-of-the-blue Blue Box Game Studios further aggravated the situation by tweeting an image for the upcoming real-time experience that included a blurry image of a person wearing an eye patch, leading fans to believe that he was attempting to tease a connection with renowned Japanese game designer Hideo Kojima, and that's something we already talked about at length. This was easily the most egregious thing that Blue Box Game Studios has done. Well, maybe not the most. I think that the S&L tweet was definitely the most egregious, but this is just like that, right? Like, this is not much different. And people look at this image and they look at the font, they look at the blurred person with an eye patch, and they immediately think this has to be something Metal Gear related, right? It continues by saying earlier last month, a source claiming to be closely associated with Sony alleged that Blue Box Game Studios was a small developer that was absorbed by PlayStation Studios and was originally supposed to work on Silent Hills before the game was canceled in 2015. They ended up working on a VR expansion Until Dawn instead. Now, this is a very interesting point here that is being brought up if this is true. To a lot of people, right off the bat, they may think, nah, there's no way this is true. That sounds too much of a stretch, but it's actually not. The reason why I say this is because there are what you would consider phantom studios or ghost studios, if you will, that work on big AAA projects all the time. In fact, that studio that claims to be working with Blue Box and helping them, Noir Studios, nobody really knew who they were. Very few people knew who they were. And then when you check the type of games that they've worked on in the past, they have a massive catalog of very well-known, big established AAA games that they've helped develop, a lot of which are actually some of the biggest Sony exclusives. And so what you need to know about this is that it's very likely that back in 2014 and 15, when Silent Hills was in development, there were other studios that were being outsourced to help with the development of it. And so it would be very, very interesting if that's what's happening here, where this is actually a support studio, but this is also a support studio that has been tasked with kind of helping with the marketing this time around and playing a role in this ARG. Because what makes it really believable, in my opinion, is that if that is in fact what's happening, technically everything or most of everything that Blue Box Game Studios and Hassan is saying could be true, right? It could be true under a technicality. But it continues to say here, after revealing that Sony are also working on a Metal Gear Solid game, the source went on to say, regardless, the theories are spot on. Sony is trying to tease a Silent Hill game as well. The footage we saw is actually of the Silent Hills game that was revealed in 2014 and later abandoned in 2015. Sony are using one of their disbanded in-house studios, Blue Box Game Studios, to promote the game via an augmented reality game. However, shortly after publishing the article, Kojima Productions released an official trailer for Death Stranding Director's Cut, which the source claimed was an actual teaser for the upcoming PS5 exclusive Metal Gear Solid game. Naturally, we reached out for a comment. So just to speak on that for a moment, I don't necessarily think you have to be an insider, right, to come up with that, to put two and two together. I said right from the start that Death Stranding teaser trailer, obviously it was a big homage to Metal Gear Solid, but in my opinion, it was a very clear statement that something is happening with Metal Gear. So, according to this source, if they are to be believed, that was the intention of it. Goes on to say, I'm certain that the Death Stranding Director's Cut tease was a Metal Gear Solid reveal, just as I'm certain that Abandoned is a Silent Hill game. I know this is all confusing, but when you see how Kojima intends to bring things together, it will all make a lot of sense. Fans can expect exciting news about their favorite franchises very soon, I promise, the source responded. The Abandoned real-time experience trailer can be found on the PlayStation Store exclusively on the PS5 today, and will reportedly go live on August 10th. According to the game's designer, Hassan Karam, the real-time app will be updated regularly throughout the year with more footage. So, yeah, this is, I gotta say, this last paragraph that we read here, or the one before the last, this person, I don't know who this source is or who they are, but they sound pretty sure of themselves. They're saying that I promise it will all come together, and that's what makes this interesting to me. The reason why I'm entertaining this is because, honestly, this is exactly what I personally believe is happening. I think that we are currently in a ARG that is involving Silent Hill, Metal Gear Solid, and just the overall comeback of not just Konami, but the mending of the obviously completely tarnished and destroyed relationship of Kojima and Konami. And I think that Sony played a huge role here in mending that relationship. And if you think about it, as I've said many times before on my streams, this would be the perfect way to go about revealing something like this. You don't just come out at a regular event or at any random time throughout the year and say, hey, if you're Sony, you don't just come out and say, hey, we have a Silent Hill game and a Metal Gear Solid game, and we actually mended the relationship between Kojima and Konami, so please be excited. No, that's not what you do. This would be a monumental thing. It would be absolutely huge. This would go down as one of the most memorable things to ever happen, and a way you kind of push that even further, right, is by doing some type of crazy, insane, never before done, never before seen ARG to kind of, make it so that it's something people remember for years to come. The part that interests me is this individual, the source, if they are to be believed, they say, when you see how Kojima intends to bring things together, it will all make a lot of sense. Something tells me that in a way, we are all part of this ARG, and I don't know if any of this is true. And if it is, I have no idea how Kojima plans to bring all of this together, but it has to be masterful because things have been drawn out so much and there's been just so much back and forth, so much conflicting information. It really does seem like something only Kojima himself could pull off in some grand way, right? And it might not work the way they were thinking it would, right? It might backfire in some ways, but I think that that's doubtful. If this really is exactly what the source is saying, this is not just Silent Hill and Kojima's involvement and working on it. This is also Metal Gear Solid, and Konami is involved, and Kojima and Konami are, good again. That's going to be, I don't think that there's anything that could top that. I really don't. And I'm not trying to exaggerate, because if you go back to 2014 and 15, the falling out with Kojima and Konami, the unfinished ending of Metal Gear Solid 5, the cancellation of Silent Hills, Kojima basically being tossed out, having to, immediately create his own studio. Sony comes in and they're like, we got you, Kojima, don't worry. I mean, this would be insane. This would be something that I don't think anybody really would have expected. And to see the way it's being done, again, it would be something that would be remembered for years and years to come, and it would be difficult to top this, is what I'm trying to say, ultimately. And it does seem very much like something Kojima would want to do. It does seem like something I think Sony would allow Kojima to do. And I think even Konami, considering their reputation, I think at some point Konami has to realize, like, okay, we don't know what we're doing anymore. We should just kind of leave it to Sony and Kojima. Again, it sounds a little bit too good to be true, but we've seen the signs. If you've been following this channel and everything we've been talking about, there's definitely something here that's going on. And it's just interesting that we have this article and they're claiming to have spoken to a source. And the way the source is talking is they're basically saying everything you think it is, everything that has been presented to you that makes you believe this is a Silent Hill tease, a Metal Gear Solid tease, and Sony's involved and even Kojima's involved, that's the point of it. That's the intent of it. And it's exactly that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you though with this video. Again, just wanted to take some time here to go over this topic. A lot of you were asking me to do so. I don't necessarily know that I believe this source 100%. It's one of these things where it's like, maybe they did really talk to somebody close to Sony. Maybe not. Maybe they're just making this article for clicks, but this is something that I've been thinking for a while now. So it's interesting that we're starting to see some conversations happening from people on the inside saying like, yeah, and this is not the first person we've heard. Just want to make that clear. This is not the first person we've heard say this. If I'm not mistaken, a couple of weeks ago, there was a Capcom employee who came out. I think they've erased and deleted their tweets, but they came out and they were like, so I'm actually hearing that this whole abandoned blue box thing is actually Kojima and Silent Hill. And I mean, you would assume that if they're a Capcom employee, they would definitely have some type of source, right? But they went on to delete everything. So we'll find out soon enough, guys. We'll find out soon enough. But make sure you leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I will be interested to see what you had to say. Again, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.